We're back.
That's just weird. That's just weird to say. You said that in a very creepy tone.
I didn't mean for it to come out that. I meant for a little bit of creepiness, not much creepiness. Sorry about that. How did your Christmas go? How's Christmas?
It was not too bad.
Yeah, it's relaxing.
I mean, yeah, it was relaxing. I worked on Christmas Day itself. I worked for 11 and a half hours, I think.
Ouch.
So, well, because I was already scheduled to work right when all my family activities were going.
Oh, okay.
And then I was offered the opportunity to come in early in the morning when nothing was happening anyway. So I'm like, well, let's see. I'm only going to be sleeping during that time anyway. So
yeah, so you just get paid.
Why not just make more money?
Yep, go in and get paid to do nothing.
Yeah, because I'd already picked it as a holiday for that year, and I'm like, yeah, not too bad.
That makes more sense now because I texted you at some point and you were like, no, I can't open your present yet. I'm gonna open it tomorrow or the next day or something. I was like, oh, that's
Yeah. We didn't even celebrate Christmas till Thursday.
yeah. Does your family do that a lot? I feel like I've heard you guys doing that at some point in the past.
Not usually. Only recently, since more people started to just get families and get married and all that.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that was just funny. I was like, oh, all right, they'll celebrate Christmas in a day or two then, I guess.
Oh yeah, mostly because of the you want all the when you have little kids and such, you kind of want them all to be together and have the whole family together.
Oh yeah.
To exchange all the presents and all that. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, mine was pretty fun too. We didn't go anywhere and do anything. I think I don't know. We opened presents. We opened a lot of really fun presents this year. And then we watched the Rose Parade's on New Year's. Yeah, I don't know. It was a really relaxing day. Oh, I remember what I did that day. I did nothing. That's what I did that day. It was the first.
Yeah, it's easy to forget nothing.
Yeah, it's the first Christmas I've had in a long time where there was no family things afterwards. There was no last minute mad dashes to the supermarket to pick up a last minute item. I just laid in bed all day. I think I slept the entire I was in bed because we have that extra bed in the living room. And so I was just laying on the bed all day, like either watching TV or opening presents or playing with the dogs. And I don't know, it was great. It's the laziest I've ever felt. It was fantastic. But yeah, it was a super good time. Yeah. Just so, I mean, I'm sure you're aware, but just so anyone listening is aware, I intentionally cleaned out all of the topics that we had because there was a few that had actually piled up from before Christmas. But I figured a month and a half.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a month and a half was just too long to keep anything, though. I think there was an article about PlayStation and another one about, I don't know. There was a couple small things, but I just decided, you know what? Let's just get rid of them, and I'll just do anything I remember that actually stuck out to me. But
so
what's up?
I'd like to point out right now, though.
Yeah.
This since we just keep adding stuff to the top and pushing all the old stuff down.
Yeah.
This is a 27-page document now.
That's great.
But I like that because you can go back and actually look at how much more disorganized we've become.
Oh yeah.
Because before we have
I can see
let's see. Theme Hospital spiritual successor announced by Sega. It is called 2 Point Hospital. That's an actual note we have. Now we just put the name of the game and hope we'll remember the rest.
Maybe a link or half a link or something. Man, I had pictures down here. Oh man, we got to go through.
Wait, picture?
Yeah, I see one for fuel rods because I'd never seen fuel rods before.
Oh yeah.
You mentioned those at some point. I think that might be.
I don't think we ever did actually because I don't remember talking about that.
Fuel rods? We must have. Have you ever seen them? Because I've only seen them twice.
I have not seen those.
Do you know what they are?
Oh, I mean, I can tell. It's a battery pack that you rent, basically.
Yeah, it's like this 1-in, 1-out system. I've seen. Okay, so this one, the picture that I had on the dock, that was one that I saw at Disneyland a year and a half ago, and then I just recently went to the Wild Animal Park the San Diego Zoo for Jungle Bells, their Christmas themed thing, and they had a station there too. So apparently, a lot of people use these things to charge their phones.
Well, I mean, at a place like Disneyland or the zoo, that makes perfect sense.
It does. I don't know. I think it points out something wrong with our phones that really needs to be addressed. But whatever.
I mean, or just people are on their phones too much. I don't know. there's two ways to look at
I
it.
guess so, but like how much time is too much time? Like I just wish that it was a solid um 48 hours of battery life no matter what you're doing. And that's exactly what my phone is because I have the battery pack on the back of mine. And ever since I put it on, I desperately have wanted to remove it, but I just can't live without it anymore. It's so nice. Like if I'm really tired and I don't want to get up to charge my phone, I don't have to. I can just turn it off and then turn it back on in the morning and I can get if I'm really close and I'm really lucky, I can get about 36 hours out of it. But anyways, I'm just
Yeah, no, I just plan for not having a lot of battery life, but
oh,
thankfully I since I just charge my phone whenever I get in my car,
mhm.
I plug it in the charge, I plug it in the auxiliary cable, and then I'm good to go. And so usually I arrive to places with 90% plus battery life.
Yeah, I do that.
And if I'm going to a place where I'm going to be there for a while, maybe I'm spending like the day at a friend's house or whatever,
Mhm.
I'm usually not on my phone enough to actually drain it that
That's
much.
fair.
Even though my phone is close to a year. Well, actually, I think my phone is a year old now at this point
Oh, happy
since I got it.
happy
So
birthday.
battery life, it certainly isn't what it used to be.
Happy birthday to Jake's phone. But
I don't even remember when I got it.
yeah, the issue with mine, it was the reason I first started it was because when I was in college, my campus had terrible reception, which meant my phone was always roaming. So
Oh
I was
yes, trust me, I know all about that at work.
oh yeah.
Giant concrete building you're in, and you
Mhm.
can't get a signal.
Yep. I was
Oh
getting
man,
like 5 to 6 hours of battery life maybe. And that was
yeah.
just like not even using the phone. It was terrible. It was absolutely horrible. And so I had to get the battery pack and then I would just plan to turn it off at certain times of the day and turn it back on. But because of it, it's just made me really upset. Like, you know how everyone has like that thing for when they buy phones, like it's the make or break for the phone. Like for you, I don't really know what it is for. I know you can't live without your headphone jack, but I know that is it your processing speed? Like what's your thing? What's your thing you can't live without when you get a new phone?
I mean, right now it genuinely is a headphone jack. I need a headphone jack.
Okay, well
Um,
that makes sense.
I guess any phone now is going to have USB Type C.
Hmm.
I would say,
Like
honestly, I just say, yeah. I mean, I don't need much. Just a headphone jack, I think.
that makes sense. Yeah, mine is just a good battery life, and I've been really upset because like most phones now they don't really fit my needs for that very well. But that's why I have to get the
See,
battery
but
pack for
I'm
that.
curious though. Why do you need a 36-hour battery life if within 36 hours you're almost always going to be like in a car or at home?
I'll tell you why, Jake. It's because I'm lazy. It's because I'm lazy and I'm a power user. So well, not a power user, that's the wrong term for it. So if
But
I'm
with how fast charging is these days, though, you like 20 minutes is actually like going from 30 to 60 or 70%, no problem.
that de-
At least on my
it
phone.
depends on the cable and it depends on the connection because it doesn't do that in my car. I'll get that at home, but I don't get that when I'm driving places.
Yeah, I definitely don't get that in my car, but you're spending maybe 30
So
minutes in your car, so you still get a decent
So there's a
charge.
couple things you need to know about me. So first of all, I always am listening to either music or a podcast when I'm driving places. And secondly, I'm very bad with directions. So whenever I'm going anywhere, it's always Google Maps and a podcast pulled up at the same time whenever I'm going anywhere. Which means the display is also on the entire time. So even with that like limited charging, I'm even getting less than I normally would because I'm using those three things at all times. The other issue is that most of my driving consists of going to San Diego to either spend time with Emily or drive her to class and wait, or doing small errands where there tends to be a lot of downtime. And that includes work. Work has a lot of downtime as well because I'm a teacher, and so you like when the kids have book work or when they're doing a test, I'm just sitting there and I'm on my phone. And when I'm doing that, I'm usually playing some kind of phone game. So it's either phone games or the screen's just on when I'm out of the house. But the biggest issue and the reason like it I really really need this is because I'm incredibly lazy. And at night I will not get up out of my bed to plug my phone in if I forgot to. So if I forgot to plug in my phone before I got in bed, I'm not getting out. It's just not getting charged. It's just not happening. So it's just a convenience thing for me. That's the reason I've got the battery pack on the back. It enables my laziness.
Yeah, I was gonna say I could be lazy, but I mean that's a whole nother level.
Nope, once I get comfy, I'm not getting out.
No, I've done that before too, where it's like I like well I'll be like I have to go to the bathroom or something, but I'm like I just got in bed Now I'll just wake up in 4 hours and go then.
Yeah. See, Emily can do that. That's the one thing I can't do. If I've got to pee, like even if it's just the teeniest, like yeah, maybe or so, it just bothers me. It bothers me to no end, and I've got to get up immediately.
Yeah, no, usually I'm pretty good about doing it, but if I've been up too late and I went to the bathroom in the past, maybe hour or two,
Mhm.
I'm like, all right, I just gotta go to bed. I gotta get some sleep, and I'll usually just wake up later and go then.
Since we got on the subject, I'm just going to throw it in the podcast because I think it's pretty funny. It was me and Emily, we were talking a while ago, and we were joking about a uh we were considering a certain invention, and it slowly turned into this dystopian society that we want to make a book about, just because we think it's hysterical. The idea behind it is that parents start getting incredibly frustrated with their children like pooping and peeing everywhere, and so someone comes up with a brilliant idea to make a baby catheter. And I don't know what it's called, but I'm sure there's like I guess like an external colon for the poop as well. And so that's always being taken care of, and you just take it out. But then as those babies grow up, they don't want to get rid of it, and it just becomes a normal thing in society where bathrooms are no longer even usable because everybody has catheters at all times. And the more we
Oh
thought about it,
man, but
right? It's got to
well,
happen at some
you
point.
like you're going like all Wally on us right now.
It's an inevitability. It's gonna happen.
But that's interesting because you wouldn't convert the you'd remove the toilets from the restrooms, but you still have to have like changing stations, wouldn't you?
I guess
Or like, does
so.
their technology get that good that like,
I mean, possibly. I was just thinking wherever you go, like whatever like building you're in at work or at home, you just plug into the building. So there's just tubes on the walls. And you just
oh god, that's a little too far. What the hell?
right? I'm telling you, this is the way of the future. This is what's happening.
And here I thought we were like trying to go the whole wireless electricity in your own room step, but
Nope,
no, we're
not
going
for this.
we're going. If you need to go to the bathroom, you just plug into your
But
building.
see, but see, that's the beauty of the idea because everyone's going to be opposed to it at first. But then all of the parents are going to have their kids do this because they're like, screw this. We don't want to put up with having like poop and pee
Well, and
everywhere.
I think you're ignoring a whole demographic here,
What's that?
the elderly.
Oh,
That could be
see the
pretty advantageous.
yeah, the old and the young. Like it's all right there.
And then slowly but surely the adults get sandwiched between the two generations,
Yep.
and they're like, oh well, we got to adopt it too.
Those darn millennials. What have they done? So yeah, that's what we talk about when we're in the hot tub. That was a good time. Okay, let's jump into the actual topics. I don't want to go on for too long on this, so I figure we can try to keep it hopefully down to an hour and a half or so.
Before we do that, real quick though,
Yes.
I have something to admit to you.
Oh no.
I'll just make it
All
brief,
right.
and I know you're going to be disappointed in me.
Is it 3D printing again?
No,
Okay, that would
but
have been fine.
between now and the last podcast,
Okay.
I now own 2 more keyboards.
I need pictures. Send pictures.
Well, I have that all black one that I got for my birthday.
Wait, okay, so I don't think I've actually seen this keyboard. Is it 100% black?
Oh yeah, it's like all black and there's no legends on the keycaps.
Wow.
They're just blank keycaps.
Wow.
Because I remember I said I was trying to learn the Dvorak
Yes. So
keyboard layout.
that one you have set up as
So
a
the best
Dvorak?
way to do that would be like no keycaps or no legends. Sorry.
I guess so. I mean, I figure.
Well, yeah, because I don't want to have to look at my hands to type. I want to be able to touch type like I
No,
can
I get.
with a QWERTY
It seems
keyboard.
like trying to ride a. It's like trying to learn how to ride a bicycle without training wheels. Like you can do it, but like.
Yeah,
know.
but in the end, I think it saves you time because then you don't have to
All
like
right.
readjust once you like if I was with going with your bike example,
Yeah.
you don't have to learn with training wheels and then you take the training wheels off and you kind of have to readjust a little.
Yeah, that's fair.
This you're just going. There's no readjustment period.
That's fair. Okay, what was the other thing? What was the other keyboard?
Oh, it was one I had pre-ordered back in like November or something,
Mm-hmm.
October, and it just finally got here, and it's kind of nice
What is it?
because it's a full size keyboard.
So, does that mean like
But-
number pad on the side? Is that what that means?
Yeah, number pad. It's got all the like
Okay.
F1 through F12.
Gotcha.
It's the whole deal.
It's a big one.
But the nice thing is that there's no space between any of the keycaps. So like you know
What?
how if you look at So like if you look at a full size keyboard, you got the arrow keys, but then you have this bunch of space, and you have delete and end and home and up stuff up there, right?
Oh,
Between the function keys, like they're all grouped into groups of 4 or something.
yeah.
They're all as close together as they can be.
Okay, that makes sense. That's how my keyboard is on my laptop.
Yeah, but I mean, this is actually nice, and like the arrow keys are full size.
I'm assuming
that's like one thing. That's one thing that bugs me about keyboard laptops is the up and down are usually like tiny.
Yeah, I'm assuming this is a mechanical keyboard as well.
Wouldn't be any other type.
Whatever. I don't know. I think there's something to be said for membranes, but even if it's just the price.
Oh, we know. Yeah, I know. There's a time and a place for them.
There's a use for them.
And to expect mechanical keyboard on a laptop is a little ridiculous.
Yeah, like I've seen that done before, but that's just it seems like overkill. Like if you really want a mechanical keyboard that badly, just buy an external one. Like I'd like to have it built in.
I mean, yeah, that's what I do. I just bought a small keyboard to use, and I just stick it on top of my laptop since it's so big.
Yeah, I mean,
and honestly, I just enjoy it more because I can customize the layout of the keyboard easier, and it's just nicer to type on.
You know what Corey just got? Corey's a friend of ours. He got that thing that Razer makes. It's the WASD pad that's just like the pad with a joystick on the side. Can you hear that dog in the background, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay. It just howled really loud. That was my dog.
I'm used to it.
Yeah, right. So the WASD thing, and then it has.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, he's enjoying it quite a bit. He really likes it. He's been trying to map instead of using the WASD. He actually wants to get rid of that and just use the thumbstick on the side to move, and then use all the number pads for other things, which I think is crazy, but. That's what he's been trying to do lately.
Hey, to each their own.
Yeah, I mean, he's
like here I am trying to like learn Dvorak and stuff and really switch that up. So
shave 0.3 seconds off of your day, if you can do it. Sorry, I just I think it's a little. It's not silly. Like I understand why someone would have a romantic idea about learning Dvorak, but it is kind of funny.
No, honestly, it's just because. Since I enjoy my keyboard so much, which sounds kind of weird to say.
No, I understand.
But it's just like one of the things you can do with them, so why not? Mm-hmm. And it is a really good brain challenge.
Oh, I bet.
Like it gets your brain thinking really hard about what buttons your fingers are pressing.
Let me see. So I want to see the difference again. Dvorak versus QWERTY. Where is it? Okay, so
and one of the things.
Oh my, that's a big difference.
Yeah, so but the whole point of it is that you're supposed to be able to type more without moving your fingers as much. Yeah. Like it's arranged better, so like E isn't all the way up on the top, and
okay,
all the most common stuff is like right in the center.
Yeah, so for people listening, so you know how your normal fingers are on like A, S, D, F, like on the left side, and then L, K, whatever. The left side is just your vowels, so it's A, E, I, O, U. And then the other side is just a whole bunch of like the most widely used consonants. That's interesting. That's a fascinating way to do it. Huh.
Yeah. So I think my max right now for QWERTY is I just hit 89 words per minute.
Nice.
But that was a really good day.
What was
makes me in the 95th percentile. I really like that. I'm just really proud of that.
Good job, Jake. What's
There's no reason for me to be proud of that, but.
Oh no, I understand. That's cool.
But so hopefully, one day I can hit like, 70, 80 with Dvorak.
That'd be great. What was the reason QWERTY was set up the way it was originally? Like, I know this is going to go back to typewriters, I'm assuming. And so I'm trying to think of the reason.
I'm not sure. I feel like that might be a little too in-depth for the podcast.
Why did we use...
It might take a little too long to research that. There's probably a good video on YouTube explaining it.
There's got to be just like a one sentence thing. QWERTY keyboard was developed. It placed keys in such a manner that most used letters were spaced out, so the rods were less likely to clash into each other when typing. That's the answer I was looking for. Boom. Okay, that makes sense. So it has to go into the engineering of typewriters. That's interesting.
Yeah, like the actual when it was still mechanical.
Yeah, that's cool. Huh. Awesome. Well, I guess we should get into the games
now that we got that tangent out of the way.
Yeah. So just a little aside before I actually start talking about games that I've been playing. You haven't added much to this list, so I'm assuming you're just going to want to talk about the last. Oh no, you did add one at the end. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, I think you have on there pretty much everything I've been playing.
Cool.
I can check, but as
Yeah.
as far as I know,
Yeah.
I've mostly been playing just like 3 games.
Yeah, don't worry about it. So just as a quick aside, I mentioned on the last podcast, maybe the last podcast, that I was gonna play more of Assassin's Creed Odyssey on the Google streaming project before it went up, and I believe it finished on January 6th. Maybe I could be wrong about that. Anyways, I was so busy over this break, I didn't have any time to actually play Assassin's Creed Odyssey on their streaming service. So I'm very sorry. I don't really have anything to say on it because I got too overwhelmed and I totally forgot that it was a thing that I should try to do. So I can't say any more on their streaming service. But I will say on the stuff that I've seen and on the reviews that I've seen for their project, it seems good. Like the latency seems low enough to where for that kind of game, you don't really notice much. So yeah, there's not much to say on it. Anyways, Far Cry 5. I'll talk about that one first. I finished it finally. I finished it, Jake. It took like
I mean, I don't know if that's something to be proud
took
of,
about a
but okay.
year. I felt bad because I don't know. Apparently, I sunk a lot of time into it. I was looking at. I think I have like
Yeah, you're
80.
close to 100 hours now, I think.
Yeah, like I did not know I put that much time into it because I didn't enjoy that time, or at least I don't remember enjoying that time. I guess
I mean, you get your few moments, but other than it's mostly just a grind.
yeah, it is. So I realized that the problem with that game, if I had to point out one problem with it, it's that the game had a lot of grind in it. And the wonderful thing about what I did was I basically played through the first one and a half bosses. I didn't realize I hadn't beat the second guy, but I beat the first guy. I think I beat Jacob was his name. I think I beat Jacob first, and then I went over to beat the girl who has all the drugs and stuff, and I got right up to
Hmm.
where I was going to play her, and then I never actually fought her. But the I didn't fight her because I spent the first like 60 or 70 hours of the game grinding out everything to have everything unlocked, all of the best weapons, all of the best gear, all of the perks and everything. So now when I jumped back into it, I could just go. And that going was really fantastic. So if I had to rate it, I'd rate the first time I played it as like a 4 out of 10 just because it was nothing but grind. And then the last part of it was like a 7 to 8 out of 10 because it was really enjoyable once I'd done that. It really helped me kind of focus on the plot more and yeah, no, everything about it was just so much more enjoyable after that. Like I was really able to enjoy the story of the game. I was really able to enjoy the mechanics that they had for how to, take out people and like the wide range of weapons that they had at your disposal in order to do that. Um, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed how every character had a different level of darkness to them, and they were like very, very different from one another. So like Jacob, one of man, I actually don't want to give away too much out of the game just because there's another big game coming. But but Jacob has a much more dark feeling because all he does is he just wants to hunt people, and that's true from the get go. Then there's another guy who's just dealing with sins, and then there's this girl. I believe her name is Hope in the game, Hope Seed. And she's just one of the most fascinating characters because I'm not even sure she wants to be a part of the cult that she just has found herself wrapped up into. It's almost like she's this emotional abuse victim that was stuck inside of it. And it seems like there was a lot they wanted to do, but they just had their hands tied because they couldn't get as dark as they wanted to with the whole thing. And I feel really bad about that. It's almost like they had a good game there, and then they sent it over to HR or marketing, and they're like, "Yeah, you gotta dial it down and take out X, Y, and Z," because you feel like there's a lot more there that just never came to fruition. And then of course the ending was absolutely fantastic. Um, and yeah, and if you're not going to play the game, you should at least Google the last 5 minutes of the game because the new game is going to kind of be based on that, and it's pretty fabulous.
Although I think to be honest, though, you're not going to miss any much if you don't play either the new game or Far Cry
How
5. So
how dare you?
I mean, that's just my opinion, though.
It's there's got to be a mod to get rid of
Because
that grind. Like if you can just do
well,
that.
seeing you play it makes me want to be like, yeah, maybe I should get back into that or something. But then every time I think about it, I'm just like, I mean, I don't remember finding the gunplay that enjoyable that I want to go back to it. Like I do Killing Floor 2 or something, where it's like I know when I hop in and getting those headshots is going to be super nice.
If you say so, man. I still don't get that game, but um, I kind of feel the same way with the gun. Like the gunplay wasn't great in this Far Cry game, but I do remember really enjoying playing it with other people. So if you want to play it with me later, I'm more than happy to hop into it and just have fun romping around,
Yeah, maybe
getting some stuff
because I
done.
have so much free time
Yeah.
now.
And then really quick, because I want to spend most of the time on those last three games. Uh, I'll talk about them at the same time. So for Christmas, I got Skyrim VR and Doom VR as
And
like the.
speaking of Skyrim, real quick, Skyrim
It's
together,
not
is
out
it
yet.
out?
Nope, I already checked.
Uh,
Sorry.
I love the influx of new news articles, though.
I know. Yeah. Just so everyone's aware, Skyrim Together, the mod that we've been excited about forever, just had an update where they said they're going to be releasing very, very soon. Everything's done except for the website, and I think their server stuff is all they're really working on now. I think they're still fixing bugs here and there, but it's not really super
Oh, so
important compared to
close.
everything. Yeah, I think it'll be another month or two, hopefully, and then we can get our hands on it. Um,
All right, sorry, but Skyrim VR instead.
Yeah, Skyrim VR and Doom VR. I'll just talk at the same time because I played them for roughly the same amount. I played more Skyrim than Doom. Altogether, I think I've sunk in like 3 hours, so an hour and a half on both. They're oh man, they make me sick. I can't do it. I cannot do it. Like they're oh my gosh, it's I've never felt so motion sick. It really really got to me. It's fine when you're playing games that have a VR experience that's like stationary. That's one thing, but when the game is I don't know, when there's a lot of like janky motions going on at the same time and you're moving in the game but you're not moving, your brain just doesn't know what to do with the information and it just assumes you're drunk and then all of a sudden you start feeling drunk. Um but yeah,
And not in the good way.
yeah, and I don't know if you know that the best I'm pretty sure we know this for a fact, but at least the best guess we have as to why people get motion sick is that the your body associates your disassociation of movement with eyes that that your body just assumes it's been poisoned and it's trying to purge the poison out of you, which is why you feel like you have to throw up and you get like nauseous and you get motion
Yeah,
sick on
I always
stuff.
just kind of assumed it was the opposite of getting car sick or something, where like your ears. Because what I assume in car sickness is that you're, for whatever reason, you can't quite associate. Well, actually, no, sorry. You usually get car sick when you're like not looking where you're driving,
Yes.
and so the movement of the liquid inside your ears just makes you sick because you think you're going all over the place and like you're gonna die or
You know,
something.
that's
But
interesting.
in this case, like the fluid inside your ears. Well, actually, it's almost the same thing because the fluid inside your ears is moving while you move your head, but it's like something about whatever you're looking at doesn't quite line up
I,
with your
I don't
brain.
think it's necessarily your ears that are doing it either. I mean, when when you accelerate and decelerate in the car, your entire body feels it. So it might be a signal sent from everywhere at the same time. I don't know. Anyways, it's basically the same thing. I mean, it's with cars and with VR, but my gosh, that VR it just rips. And I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a very
yeah.
jarring
It makes
feeling.
me wonder how viable adventure games like Skyrim or FPSs like that are,
Oh yeah.
just
Well,
because
let's
the majority of people are gonna have problems with that until like we evolve to not have those problems or something.
yeah.
So it's just, I mean, for now we're just gonna have to build games around that, or just really look into solutions.
Well, the solution's simple and expensive. The solution is if you had a warehouse built where you just had a VR headset in the warehouse and the warehouse was set up with the parameters of whatever game you were playing, that would work fine. That would work absolutely fine because as you move, you're moving in the game itself, and that's totally fine. The problem is you're half moving in the game because like if you see something on the ground, you can lean down to pick it up or something, but you're
Yeah.
also when you move forward you have to use these horrible controls in order to get it for like you have to it's really hard to explain so I'm playing off of the PlayStation Move which has it's got the best library of VR games and it's been arguably like the best setup thing for it even though the screen resolution isn't great but the controls are just terrible for the Move controllers for it it has let me send you a picture of a Move controller so you know kind of what I'm talking about and I'll try to.
I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking
Okay,
about.
so all right, well I won't then. So
Are they the one like with the little colored balls on the end?
yeah, the one with the little color ball. So with the little, it's
Yeah.
got basically the whole controller. There's a trigger on one side that you can click with your hand, but the most important is that there's a big button in the middle that just acts as your like select button, and then around it in a square pattern is your X squared triangle circle. And so you basically have, bottom left, top right, bottom right kind of controls. And so bottom left will push you backwards a little bit, but then bottom right will snap you around, so you do a complete 180-degree turn, and then top left will move you forward, but then top right will I forgot. It's different in different games, but I want to say like you strafe from side to side or you jet forward or something. It's got really strange commands. Like they did the best they could with these controllers, but they're horrible for movement. Like you can't move properly in these things. You just can't. It just works really terribly. So I tried to do that for a while, and then I started getting really sick because you're either snapping from place to place, which is mostly the movements. That's what Doom really wants you to do, is just snap
Yeah.
forward in time, like just bam, 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 bam. Or you can do the smooth movement, but they actually tell you not to use the smooth movement in the game because it will make you sick, which it does. And so I opted for just bringing out a controller and using that. And that worked a little bit better, but you still have this weird gliding motion. Oh yeah, and when you're playing it too, it gives you a tunnel vision. It actually blacks out part of the screen and gives you a tunnel vision when you're moving forward. And I wasn't sure why, so I turned that off because you can apparently turn it off in the settings. And then without it, it's like I don't know why it makes it worse, but dude, like it's really really bad without it. It's so terrible. There's no I was trying every setting I could to try to get through. Just going to what's the first town you get in Skyrim? The little like
Oh, Whiterun, I
yeah,
think.
Whiterun. No. Whiterun's the big city. It's like the little
Oh, is it? Oh,
river.
I
I think
can't
it's
remember.
Riverwood or something. I think it's Riverwood or
Yeah,
Riverrun.
something like that.
Yeah, that little town. Like I could walk from the main dungeon over to there, and then I walked in like two houses, and it's super cool. Like the talking to people feels really just normal. Looking around feels amazing. The definition isn't great, and I wish that was better, but it's PlayStation VR, so what are you gonna do? But yeah, but
Yeah, so something I'm curious though
yeah,
is because when I think of PlayStation VR, I think of like, VR, but it's like the budget version. So I'm wondering if you were to get like an Oculus with all the bells and
higher
whistles and
definition.
get the whole room set up so that it's like, you got all your sensors and it's going to be a much like well, as far as I know, a much smoother and cleaner experience if the motion sickness is as rapid to come on, or if it's still going to happen no matter what. And it probably is going to happen no matter what, but I am wondering if like more precision is going to, like, the closer you can,
Yeah,
the more seamless you can make the experience, the longer it'll take to get motion sick.
that's an interesting question because I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. I think it could either make it better or it could make it worse because that screen door effect that you have on the PlayStation VR, it's really not that okay. You get really annoyed at it just because you've got a terrible distaste for 720p, but it basically it's two screens that output I don't know. I think it works out to somewhere around 720p for both of your eyes put together. So it's more than just like a standard definition, but you can definitely tell it's still a lot less than you'd be getting on literally any other screen.
Yeah.
Um, but you're playing
Like just, or even, just Google, what was it, Google Cardboard strapping your phone to your face.
well yeah, but I mean it has to be that because you're playing at 90 frames a second. And that does look
Yeah.
really good. Like I love playing Skyrim at 90 frames a second on there. It's really cool that it can get that high. And that's the only screen that I own that I can actually reach that frame rate. And so it's actually kind of enjoyable because of that. But the issue would be that I don't know if having a higher definition, especially in a game like Skyrim, because Doom I hated on it. But um, on Skyrim, I don't know if giving it more definition might make it worse because you'd have more trees and a longer draw distance and like all of those different things. I wonder if that would just overwhelm your vision even more. It is possible that it would make it less janky, but I don't know. I did try I didn't try it for very long. I only tried it for about 15 minutes or something inside of like a Best Buy. But I did have an Oculus on trying Skyrim VR, and I remember they still had the same kind of movement. It was either snap forward or it was like glide. So I don't know. It's just not good. Like I
The weird part though is when you say glide, that is already what you're doing with basically, if you're playing without VR. If I play Skyrim on my computer, it is like kind of a gliding. It's just weird how you describe it as gliding only when you're in
That
VR.
is interesting, isn't it? It's yeah, I don't know. It maybe yeah, it's strange. I don't know. The looking doesn't feel the same. I'll have you try it out one of these days. Like, if you look down at the ground in just playing it normally on your TV, you'll have like a ridicule in the middle of the screen and you'll know exactly what thing you're looking at. But in VR, you kind of you move and then you look down and you can't really see your feet because the sensors don't really go that low for some reason, and it's not a full experience. Like you don't feel like it's your whole body. Even like your arms when you're moving them, you don't have like shoulders connecting your arm to your body. You just have like a hand with a glove on. So it's this like floating glove that you're moving with the wands. So I don't know. It does feel like gliding. You don't feel like you're there. You feel like you're a ghost kind of floating through the world. But it does feel good for a while. Like I can see like the beginnings of something that might be really cool, but it really just feels like a concept right now.
So actually, thinking about it, I think I know why you would consider it more gliding when you have VR is because usually you have view bob or some sort of
Yeah.
like animation to portray you're walking.
Yep.
Like, in Minecraft, I always had view bob off. And so your hand, if you had it on, it would kind of like,
Yeah. You
your
bob up
screen
and
would do
down.
the shake and stuff, but you could turn it off and it actually is genuinely like gliding.
Oh yeah.
I think Minecraft is probably the best example of that where you can turn it off completely. So actually that's probably why.
Most likely. Yeah,
Now
there's
that I
no
think
weight to
about
any
it.
of your movements. That's probably a better way to put it.
Yeah.
There's no weight at all. You just go forward. Like you can tell it's just a camera and the camera is just moving forward. There's no I don't know, there is a jump button, but that just kind of accelerates and decelerates really quickly. Anyways, I'm tired of talking about VR stuff. Let's talk about your game.
Yeah, Rimworld. That's a fun game. And thinking about it just now, because I played it for like 26 hours or something
Well, what is it
in
first?
like 1 week.
I know that we both know what it is, but what is it first?
Well, I'm getting
Okay,
there. I
all right.
played it for like 26 hours in 1 week, and the game, like on the main menu itself, the slogan is a story generator,
Okay.
as opposed to like a colony management game, which is what you might think it is, because what you're doing is you have some colonists that crash land on a planet, and then your goal is to survive. You have to grow food, you
Yeah.
have to make bedrooms, and you have to get materials to build all this,
It's a
and you have to research to get more technology.
it's a top-down
But it's all
RTS survival.
yeah, but it's top down and it's 2D. And if you've heard of Dwarf Fortress, it's the simplified, accessible version of that on Steam. And so, what you can get really in depth with a lot of stuff, because since it's such a graphically non-intensive game, that you can actually have all this stuff like when two characters pass by each other, there's a chance they might have a conversation or something, and you can actually go and look at the log and see what all conversations they've had, and it'll obviously just this will just generate like, oh yeah, Bob talked to Samantha about shooting clay pigeons in the desert or something. And so it just generates a bunch of stuff they could talk about, but it gets into all that detail. Or for health, you have left hand, you have left arm, you have left shoulder, you have right arm, right shoulder, right hand, and you can see maybe they got a bite scar on their right pinky or something. You can get into all this detail, but the interesting part though is that you don't really micromanage unless you're in battle. It's not like The Sims where you're constantly like, okay, now you are going to go cook this meal and I'm going to give you all the ingredients to go do it. What you do is you assign everyone their own tasks, what they're allowed to do. And so most of the time, ideally, your base runs really smoothly because everyone has their people who are good at cooking are going to be doing the cooking. And you don't have to worry about them for the whole day because they're just going to be getting food from storage and cooking meals. And then your growers, people out in the fields harvesting the crops and stuff, they're just going to go do that because they're good at it and they enjoy doing it or something like that. So you're not telling everyone what to do, you're just saying this is what you should be doing. And so only if something really needs to get done, like this crop is going to start rotting if you don't go harvest it, then yeah, you do micromanage sometimes. But because of all that detail, I think that's one of the reasons why it sells itself as a story generator, because you can, if you really just take the time and put yourself into the world, start picturing what that actually text would actually translate if it was in a movie form or something, or TV, because people can start fights or something. Maybe they have a bad character trait, or they're in a bad mood or something. They can start fights. Maybe like he there's one where it's just, he insulted like his sister's preference in food or something. Like and so I took it like I think it was something because of like his sister was a vegan or something, and they got into a fight. But then just you can sit there and think and picture it like, man, what would that be like? That you get so upset about how he insulted your sister's vegan food preference that you get into a fist fight.
It's interesting that you spend so much time on that, because that is, I mean, okay, so I'm 11 hours into the game now, and I've seen all of that text, and I kind of know like where to go to look at it. I've seen all of that stuff in the game. I just don't care about it. Like
See, that's the thing though,
yeah.
is I don't really either. I use that as a selling point of the game, but for me, I don't play it as a story generator. I play it as a game, and it is still incredibly fun for me.
All right. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, so
But
what's up?
oh no, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to talk about my experience with it. You want to keep going first?
I mean, all I was just gonna say is just for whatever gameplay elements it does have, even if half the time I'm just fast forwarding time, waiting for them to finish this research or something, or just spend a little more time cleaning up the base or something. Especially in the late game, I feel like a lot of the times you're just fast forwarding time because everything runs fairly smoothly. I don't know. I just still just find it enjoyable.
I can see that. Yeah, I okay, so I'm 11 hours in. I think I've started 4 different colonies. And they keep.
That's a lot.
Well, I mean, like it was just me
Oh,
learning.
you probably haven't survived in all of them, have you?
Yeah, no, like the first one, I don't know. I think the first one I forgot to tell everyone to defend the base when someone was coming, and so they just got picked off one by one, and I didn't notice because I think I was listening to music. Like just it was something stupid like that. And then the next one, I chose the wrong place because like one thing Jake hasn't told you is you can choose anywhere on the planet to land, which means you can go to like super northern hemisphere where there's no sunlight and it's just like ice and snow, and you have to desperately find food sources, or you can go to like the hottest part of the planet physically possible, and you're trying to deal with like 150-degree weather where everyone's dying when they walk outside. Like there's some really cool things that are in the game to keep it super interesting. So you have to kind of find the perfect spot. And so like I think a temperate forest is kind of the easy level 1 mode if you can find one of those.
Yeah. Like my recent colony, because I kind of wanted an easier game.
Yeah.
Was a temperate forest near closer to the equator, so there's growing season all year round.
Yeah.
So the chances of my crops actually dying in winter are, slim to none.
Yeah, so that's kind of the one that I ended up settling on because I've been trying to see as much of the game as possible. So I'm on super baby easy mode with, unlimited saves and with, being in this nice area. So I've been kind of pushing forward and stuff, and so I really enjoyed, the beginning where you're like, okay, like, because you really do feel like the leader over this little tribe of people that's desperate to survive. So you're like, okay, what you need to do is you need to like make beds in this one room, and then we need to plant a field over here, and then we need to make sure that, we start production and stuff, and now we need a generator so we can start generating electricity. And there's this cool progression that they keep in the game to keep you interested. My issue with it, and I think this is the big killer for me, and it's not a bad thing with the game. I think it's something that could be tweaked a little bit with a mod, and I probably will at some point. But it feels like there's a very slow mid game, which is I think what you were saying too. When you were saying at certain points you're just like hitting the fast forward button for a while, because
I wouldn't say mid game. I would say closer to late game, because a lot of it is just because you get if you want to get off the planet, which is the end goal of the game, you have to research a ton of high level stuff that takes a long time to research.
Yeah, and they're just sitting there.
But
researching.
the problem is though, most of your people are just going about doing their usual jobs like cooking or harvesting or mining or something like that. And so there's not much for people to do. Mid game is great because that's when your base really starts to like explode. You finally get enough people that caravans are easy. So if you want to go, do a quest that another faction gives you, you can go do that, and you can maintain your base at home, and you can maybe even start to get like multiple caravans going on, and you really start to like your trade really starts to pick up, and you start getting a lot of money. I think mid game is one of the best parts.
Okay, that makes sense. See,
to be honest, but.
yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. I had something to say a minute ago. I think part of it is because I have the game on super easy mode. So there's really not much reason for me to do anything. Um, I think that's one like there's no want or necessity to do things. Like I'm like, oh, I could go save that person, but someone else is just gonna wander into my base at some point anyway. So like I don't need that person over there. Um,
Well, I think that might be why mid game is kind of boring for you then,
yeah.
because you're not trying to actively expand your colony enough. Because I think I'm up to like 13 or 14 people now, and it's great because I have all I have the doctors, and I have
Mhm,
the guy who's really good with social, so he's always going to trade, and
mhm.
then I have all the people who have the miniguns, and so they're always going to fight people,
Yeah.
and I think actually, all things considered, I might turn up the difficulty one more notch
Mhm,
just so I get more fights,
mm,
because now I've built up my base and like everyone has good guns and all that, but I don't have a challenge really.
yeah.
Like there's not enough people are coming to fight me.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense.
I definitely think some of the fun in the game is losing.
Mhm.
I know it might be hard, especially you put 30, 40 hours into one colony or
Oh no,
something,
it makes it feel more
and then
alive and
they
everything.
die.
You're like, oh no, that one
Yeah,
guy.
so
I've been with him forever.
yeah, exactly. I haven't actually lost a single person. One person actually died because everyone was bad aims in this one had bad aim in this one battle. But I had gotten a serum that just lets me revive dead people.
Nice.
And so since he had just died, there was no side effects either. So I'm like, oh well, okay.
Have you hated anyone in your colony enough to sell them to slave traders as they come by?
Only
Only
prisoners.
prisoners? Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And usually I go to a town right nearby to sell
You
prisoners.
seem to be.
In fact, the problem though is the people right next door. They never have any money because I'm always selling them stuff. So I've had to start going further and further away from my
That's
trade.
great. I think with last time we were talking about this game, you were starting to get into cannibalism or just like ripping people apart to harvest their organs.
Yeah,
What
so
are you doing?
I'd finally gotten like all this upgrades for hospitals, like the vitals monitor,
Hmm.
hospital bed, and all that.
Nice.
And I'm like, I wouldn't mind having some spare body parts. Maybe try selling a couple. So hey, man, this guy has a kidney. He doesn't need both of them. This guy has a lung. He doesn't need both of them. But the problem though is I went overboard with like all four people I
I
killed,
bet. Yeah.
and so the problem is your colony doesn't like it when prisoners die.
Hmm.
They don't like it when you harvest organs, and they don't like it when people die because their organs were harvested. So, and that takes like a week, like 7 days of in-game days to go away.
Yeah, that's
And so for the longest time, my whole colony was just in a super sour mood. And it's just I was on the everyone was on like the verge of a break, and constantly, oh, this guy is going around breaking stuff now. Oh well, this guy's a pyromaniac, and he
oh
just
man.
starts setting random crap on
Were you
fire
just like
because he's just so upset about how we were killed prisoners to get their organs.
were you desperately trying to raise their mood? Because that keeps happening to me at certain points. I'm like, okay, so everyone needs to get rugs in their rooms now. Here's another potted plant for you. Like I'm trying to like raise the beauty as much as I can and make them as comfortable as possible whenever that stuff happens. I wonder if like what's up?
Honestly, at that point, my colony was big enough
Mhm.
that that like there was usually at least two people per job
Oh,
or more.
wow.
So I was able to compensate more than fine.
Okay, that's awesome.
And since I have every colony I play, at least for now, I have a strict no drug policy. So if we get any drugs, I sell it or just like burn it basically,
Yeah,
because I hate the I
the
don't know
negative
what are they, the
traits.
chemical interest, yeah, the chemical interest or whatever, where it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you say no drugs, they'll still go do drugs.
That's
And
awesome.
addiction is a pain, because there was one time I had I think I had, yeah, it was a prisoner, or it was someone I had just gotten. Yeah, I think I had just gotten someone as a new colonist,
Mhm.
but they had alcohol addiction, and I didn't have alcohol, and so they eventually just had to start going through withdrawals, and withdrawals take forever in game. And I'm like, this is worthless. He's just taking up a hospital bed. He's not productive. And then once he is, he's just gonna be slower moving and lethargic and all that. So I'm thinking, well, I mean, alcohol doesn't affect your lungs, so I guess I could just take those.
Well, I think we've both made your point that this game is really special. There's something very special
Yeah,
about this game.
and yeah, and when it's and I know I'll go back to the story generator again. When this is happening, you don't really think much about it. You're like, oh man, I'm just taking this guy's, this is nice. I'm taking this guy's lungs out. But sitting here talking about it is where it really shines.
Yeah.
When you can, or if you wanted to take the time and type up a story and like actually get names in there and the real details and maybe make up a little stuff, embellish it a little. That's when it really shines. I think
It's almost more fun to talk about than it is to play. Like not,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's it is more enjoyable of a game. And I guess this is kind of what happens with like what's that thing called? Like Dungeons and Dragons. It's kind of the Dungeons and Dragons effect of like that whatever's happening in the game world when it's happening, it doesn't seem like much at all because the graphics and the storytelling just aren't there. But as soon as it's over, it's really enjoyable to talk about after the fact.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just a really
Like
cool
if I wanted
experience.
to, I could pull up the game, look at my colony, and start telling you like 1,000 different things
Yeah.
about like each specific part.
Yeah. I think what's so
Like like how there's when during those break times when people were always breaking down and stuff, they would just they'd hide in their room, even though they needed rest and recreation and they were starving to death. Literally, one person got to almost 50% malnutrition because they just couldn't handle how we killed a guy for his organs. and you're sitting here thinking, what is driving you to this point that you're gonna kill yourself by starving yourself to death?
yeah,
Like, and you just don't want to leave your room.
it's
So there's just all sorts of little things like that.
it's interesting how the game how can I put this? It gives you a lot of time to think about what's going on because the
Oh
tasks
yeah.
you're doing, they require most of your brain capacity. Like, you need to be actively like, all right, these trees need to be chopped down so we can build this. This has to be mined, so I need to make sure they do that. He's cooking too much, so we need to stop him from doing that. Like, you're doing these little things, but you have a lot of time to think as it's going on, and you start piecing
Yeah,
together
yeah.
these little stories as it's going. I remember I had a similar experience. Mine's super short, but one of my guys, he almost died from hypothermia because he loved mining so much. And so he's just, I don't know. It was just like this dumb little thing, and I knew it was just like a quirk of his character personality or something. But he just really liked to hit rocks, and he wouldn't stop. Like I couldn't get him to stay in the house, stop hitting these rocks. I'm like, dude, it's -20 Celsius outside. You shouldn't be out
But
here.
he's just like, no, man,
Yeah,
I gotta go,
he's
dude.
got to go chop the rock, or he's got to go hit the rocks.
Yeah, and I think the best part is that it's just a 2D graphics. The graphics are nothing to write home
Oh
about.
yeah,
They all fit in the style of the game.
yeah, it's charming enough.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
but
not Dwarf Fortress. It's a step up from Dwarf
oh yeah, yeah,
Fortress.
it's accessible.
Yeah.
But I mean, even with these graphics, they leave a little to the imagination. So because it doesn't actually show you each body part that you can actually view in the medical tab and such.
I think the most it'll show you is if like there's a bullet hole. One of my guys was missing an eye, so he was a one-eyed guy.
Oh really?
Yeah, I didn't know they had that. They didn't even mention it in the stuff about him, like his bio. Like he just had one eye.
Um.
Maybe they might have mentioned it
Yeah. No.
somewhere,
I
but-
think. Yeah. No. Because I think sometimes people come with pre-existing medical conditions. I get. I had a person with a scar on their torso, which was probably just from a previous fight or something.
Yeah, that's some cool stuff in there. All right, I don't want this to go on for too long, so we should talk about the next one. This one is Northgard, and I think both of us have spent quite a bit of time on it recently.
I've only spent like 10 hours on it.
Okay, well, that's quite a bit for me for this style of game because that's like 6 or 7 matches at least. Oh no, that's more than that. Never mind. That's like 15, 20 matches.
I mean, I don't know how fast your matches are going, but all my games have been over an hour.
Are they that long? I always
Oh, yeah.
forget. You know they.
I think you way underestimate how long those games take. Like that
Yeah.
one we played was at least an hour.
Yeah.
And that one went quick because we had so many resources.
You know what? You're just enjoying them so much. You just forget how much time. Anyways, Northgard's a real-time strategy game a la StarCraft, maybe more like Warcraft if you've played Warcraft. I don't
It's
think you've played Warcraft before, but
Yeah, and it kind of have a civilizations theme to it where you have tiles you have to take over and then you can build in them.
yeah, it's fascinating because it's a survival as well. Okay, it's got a survival element to it, and it's really cool. So the entire idea of the game is that you're a clan in this Norse Scandinavian kind of area, and so you're not only fighting to survive with like these different tribes around you, but you're also fighting the environment. So you're always aware that winter is just over the horizon and it's going to happen because they go in like yearly cycles. I think each yearly cycle is like 10 minutes of gameplay or so. I want to say it's roughly that amount. Maybe it's more.
Yeah, probably about
Because I
that.
want to
But I
say,
think you can change the speed of the game
oh,
too.
I'm sure. I'm pretty sure there's like 5 or 6 winters every game that I play. Well, no, there must be more
Oh,
than that.
there's definitely more
Maybe
than
like
that.
8 or 9, possibly something like that. Anyways, each cycle of the yeah each winter though, you have massive. They can't make any foods. They're just eating through their food resource. They have to burn all this wood in order to stay warm and everything. So you're trying to stock up for the winter while attacking other people, which is incredibly hard in the beginning of the game, and then it gets easier, and you finally like kind of get the hang of it late game, and you can kind of manage both things at the same time. But it's a really cool element that they add to the game. So, Jake, how do you like it? Or did you have anything else?
Well,
Because you mentioned the
but
tile system.
first off, I want to say though, you just mentioned attacking, but you don't have to attack anyone to win in the game. The best part about it, and why I think you like it a lot better than Age of Empires, is that you don't have to win by attacking other people. You can win through a trade victory because you had so much money that you were just getting what is it? I think it's commercial points or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Or you can have enough lore.
Yeah.
You can just have all these lore masters and they just generate lore for you, and you can win that way by getting all the
Or
technologies.
or and this is really interesting because this is the first time I've seen this. You can win through combat, but you don't have to attack other players. You can just attack NPCs because there's a difference between conquest and fame. So with fame, you're
Yeah.
just like killing like zombies and stuff, and you're just becoming famous for doing that, which is really cool. I've never seen that in an RTS before.
Yeah, so there's multiple ways of winning. I think that's one of the reasons why you like it so much is
Yes,
that it's not just fighting. In
absolutely.
fact, combat is actually I mean, it's pretty slow because one building gives you 2 units.
Yeah.
It gives you an additional 2 military units you can build.
Yes, it's very
And
costly.
building space is limited because each tile you gain access to can only build 3 4 if you upgraded buildings in it.
Yeah, it's incredibly costly, and it's very difficult because you and me had an issue like that. Well, you and me didn't have an issue. You beat me, but there's an issue that I ran into and everything because I was going for a military victory as you were, I think, thinking about it or were planning on a military victory. But anyways, you wiped out my army, which takes a long time to build, and so I was basically out of the game once you did that because you killed like 12 or 13 of my men, which takes a good like solid 20 or 30 minutes to get back all
Yeah.
those people. Like I was just
But
out.
at the same time though, the nice thing about getting your army wiped out, nice thing. It's a weird way to put it, but when you get your army wiped out, then all of a sudden you're getting a way more gold because you have way less upkeep,
Oh yeah.
way less people to feed. So you get resources back a lot quicker. So it's not quite as bad as you think
Hmm.
to get your army back up and running. But yeah,
Yeah.
I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, the issue with it, and this is one thing that kind of bugs me about it, because I guess this is kind of Age of Empires esque. I'm used to StarCraft, so this is never a big limiting factor for me. But in Northgard, the most frustrating thing for me is that there's no way to like gain more people by just like buying them or anything. Like there's no commodity where you can just start like generating lots of people at the same time. There's a fixed limit with how fast you can gain people because they're just passively made at your base, which is I
Yeah.
think that's something that it's almost Age of Empires esque because in Age of Empires you can only build people through your main spot, right? Is that correct? Like you have to
Well,
select them to be made, but it's only through that one building, right? Through your town center?
I mean, that's just for villagers, but you build a.
Oh, you're right.
See, so here's the difference between military units and villagers in both Northgard and Age of Empires. Age of Empires, you build villagers out of your one building town center. You start with that,
Hmm.
and then they can go build other buildings, which then can just create buildings if other units if you have the resources.
Right, right, right,
So your
right, right.
villager can go create a barracks, which can create militia, and you don't need villagers to create militia. Northgard, you only generate villagers out of your
Yeah,
town
and then
center,
you give them jobs.
and then if you build a barracks, you can't have that building create another like a militia out
Yeah,
of thin
you
air.
gotta use your
You have to
existing pool.
convert a villager to the militia,
Hmm.
and so you're down a villager but plus a militia. So
Yeah, it's
it's
it's an interesting resource that the game has you manage. Like I'm not used to managing townspeople as resources in the game. Um,
yeah.
it's a cool mechanic. I like it. Like it makes more sense than like buying people because where are they coming from? Like I guess from like a realistic standpoint, it feels a little bit cooler. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's really cool. I think there's one tribe that doesn't have to do that because there's one tribe where you can buy slaves. I don't know if those slaves can be military units though.
No, I think it's they're not quite that useful because I know they can revolt. I think if you
Yeah.
get too many of them,
Yeah, I used
but I haven't played that civilization
I
yet.
used it once and I got really frustrated because it's a civilization where you get slaves, but you also have this altar that you have to sacrifice people on. So you're constantly just murdering people, but it's like a negative, like you get less food if you don't murder people, and so you're trying to balance food with like the amount of people. It was too confusing for when I was playing it. I'll try it again later, but it added too much strategy to the game for one of my first playthroughs. Like it was way too overwhelming.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I
So
really like Northgard.
yeah. So, but I think one of I mean, this is all good praise for the game and all, but I think one of the biggest problems I have, and especially considering I'm an Age of Empires boy,
Yeah.
I grew up on it and I love it, and I like the fast paced nature of it because you just can't hop into it and be like good at Age of Empires. You actually have to take a little time and learn it.
Mhm.
Northgard, I was already, I mean, first game, I learned pretty much most of what there was to know. Any nuances are going to be in just learning the different factions, but pretty much everyone plays the same. As opposed to Age of Empires, where you have a lot of micromanagement, it's very fast paced,
Yeah.
and it does less for you.
Mhm.
You know, you idle villagers in Northgard, they automatically go start harvesting food, which is helpful in a very big way. But in Age of Empires, you know, you have an idle villager, they're just going to sit there until you tell them to do something. And in Northgard, one of the biggest problems they have is this slow pace. And I don't just mean in the fact that there's less stuff for you to actively do. Also, resource gathering rate is just really slow. Half the
You're
time,
just waiting. Yeah.
you're just waiting. You're just like, okay, I just need a couple more wood, but there's nothing else for me to do. Age of Empires, I could, you know, maybe do some micromanaging, maybe fix a resource drop off point or something,
Stuff,
build
yeah.
a new one. I can just go
Yep.
check on my military, see how they're doing, maybe micromanage them a little. Northgard, you're just waiting a lot.
You know, I grew up with Age of Empires as well. I don't think I ever told you this. Um,
This is new because I did not know you played
well,
it like hardly at all.
there's a reason I haven't told you. I grew up with Age of Empires 3.
Oh, okay.
See, and now see nobody in the community likes me because none of them accept it as
No,
like a
see,
real.
okay, see, that's just it though. I for a while I was actually played it
Really?
quite a bit,
Huh.
and I mean this is when I was like 13 or 4, probably like 14, and so I wasn't good at video games by any means, and I wasn't looking up anything online. I was just like,
Mm,
oh yeah, hey, I played this game enough now where I can think I'm decent, but I don't even think I was using hotkeys back then.
mm.
And so I actually joined like a clan online or whatever of, you know, similarly bad players. I played a couple games and got crushed, of course. There was one game I remember where it was just me and another guy, and it was just up against two other guys from some other clan, and we were like building up our bases, and I finally get to full max population. Nobody was attacking each other, which is kind of odd in a Age of Empires game, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But we're like, okay, we're gonna go attack them. We have both have full armies. There's no way we can lose, and we get crushed.
Man.
But no, I did have a bit of a little escapade into Age of Empires 3.
Really?
So
Oh, I gotta try that later
I
then.
don't. It's not. I don't think it's a bad game. It's just not a good Age of Empires game.
That's fair. We should try it again later sometime. All right, last game really quickly, and then let's take a break.
So Hearthstone, and I just brought this one up because I actually ended up trying it on my phone, and I've only played through the tutorial and one or two other games against the computer, but it was actually really enjoyable, and I was worried about that because I've watched a couple games on YouTube of it before, and it is satisfying.
Hmm.
Something about the animations and the way they present it all. It is just an enjoyable experience overall. And I know you mentioned earlier you just have a lot of downtime, so you use your phone a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I think Hearthstone is a pretty good game for that because games aren't exactly quick. If you know they might drag out a little or something. So
Oh yeah.
I think it might be the perfect game. And I don't know if you've tried it or not yet.
Well, okay, so I had it downloaded a while ago, and I was playing it for a bit because another one of my friends kind of got the same bug that you got, where it's just like, oh man, this is really, really good on phones. Like, oh my goodness. I played it for, I don't know, I must have played like 30 or 40 matches or something. Um, it's okay. Like, I'll go back. Like, if you want to play it, I'm more than happy to play with you. Like, my favorite video games are ones that other people are playing. It's always been the case for me. But But yeah, it's all right for me. Like I'll probably play a little bit of it in my downtime, but it's I don't know. It's not what I look for if I'm just like by myself trying to play something small. But yeah, I don't know. It's decent. I hope that I don't know. Maybe my next podcast we can both play a few rounds with each other and get like a really good idea of how the game works and what we enjoy about it.
Well, the problem though is I think to get a really good idea of how the game works is since there's so many cards, you have to play it for a longer time than just a couple games.
You know, we could just buy all the cards.
Yeah, well, I don't
Join
have
us.
that kind of money anymore.
You can do it.
In fact, you should be proud of me because I held off on a really bad, I don't know, what is it, craving? What would you call it? Not a binge, but like
Emily calls them Tim Whims. So I don't know what they. I guess Jacob Whims.
I like that Tim Wim.
Yeah, she calls them that all
But
the
I was
time.
really tempted to get a force feedback steering wheel because I really want to try it out because I have a game called Dirt Rally, and it's actually really fun on the keyboard. Get a controller, it's a little easier because you have your joystick turning's a little better. But I would absolutely love to try a racing game on a force feedback steering wheel.
Yeah, you've mentioned that a lot.
I just it's like a dream now because I had no idea that
They were force
as a
feedback.
kid, you had seen racing wheel accessories for your PS2 or
Yeah,
whatever.
but they were just like plastic things that just move back and forth.
Yeah,
It's different.
and you're like, oh man, why? What? I mean, like as a kid, you had never even driven a car, so you're like, okay, maybe it's close to driving a car. But even then, in my mind, I'm like, but you're just turning with no resistance. Little did I know, you actually can get once you get up, above $100, you get ones with force feedback using motors.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more similar to actually driving a car.
Huh. I just
And
found one.
now
I just found one for
yeah
20.
now
Say what? All right, sorry. You go first.
oh sorry now I'm just thinking, man, I really want to try that.
Yep.
So I don't know if maybe I should buy it, sell it off for a little less on Craigslist if I don't like it. But since I'm working way less at my job now, I don't even know if I'm gonna be breaking even on my bills quite. So I don't know if I should or not, but I really want to.
Hell breezy. Let me show you how to keep the dice rolling when you're doing that thing over there. Hey. Let's go! Cause I'm feeling like I'm running and I'm feeling like I gotta get away. Better know that I don't and I won't ever stop. Cause you know I gotta win every day.
Okay, we gotta go through this fast. You finished eating? All right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's not much to talk about anyway. It's a shame because I was gonna lead with something really great in the second half or like second part. I can't remember what
sorry.
it was though. Like it was gonna be great, and you weren't gonna expect
that
it.
broke.
But I
Okay.
can't remember what it was.
Oh, nothing. It was my my
Wait, would you
my
break?
boom stand. The stand for my microphone to talk on the microphone that I was using before. I've been playing with it a lot, and so it fell off my desk. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I'm sorry you can't remember. Did it have anything to do with video games or electronics or Google or? Man, you really don't remember.
Ooh, I almost want to say video games. I don't. I want to because I remember I was thinking, man, it's gonna be good because
These first two will go really quickly. I'll just mention them
expect it.
really fast.
I don't know.
This first one's just because I'm really interested in a lot of government stuff, like you know. So the credit system that China has been trying. First of all, welcome back to the podcast. We went on break. Here we are back from it. Yeah, me and Jake have kind of been talking while he's been eating his dinner, so it's not too much of a break
Probably
for
should
us.
lead with that. Yeah.
But here we are. I hope you enjoyed the song that I picked out in the future. Good job, future Tim, hopefully. Oh, good. I think I'm going to go with like the Wii Shop channel music or
Oh
something.
yes, it was a
Oh,
very
no,
good
I've
song.
used
I
that one
really enjoyed
already.
it.
No, I already used that. Dang it. I love that little tune.
God.
It's okay. I'll figure out something. What's up? You remember the topic? Okay.
Oh, hang on. I remembered what I wanted to tell you. I am honestly considering starting a video series where I reviewed frozen burritos.
Oh, no.
Think about that for a second. I just got the idea, and I'm thinking, I love my frozen burritos.
I want you to think about this.
And I love being
How do you feel about having
picky.
your
Like, I
face
love
on camera that much?
finding ones I like.
Wow. Okay.
I would be fine with it because it's not
Okay.
like I'd be taking
That's
it
fair.
seriously, but I would still enjoy
Something
my
about
time
frozen
with it.
burritos.
I don't know, man. Something it just really appeals to me because it's just
Hmm.
niche enough and weird enough that it would actually maybe get a following. I don't know. I don't know, even know the beginning of marketing
You know,
something
there's
like
quite a
that,
few
but
frozen burrito
I just
reviews
think it would be so
on
much
YouTube
fun to
already.
do.
Exclusively the burrito guy.
No, see, but I would be like I would be the leading source for all things frozen burritos because I
No,
eat them.
yeah,
I
it's
eat them
all
so much. I mean, I'm sure there's
yeah,
someone else out there
it's a
who
whole
eats them
bunch
a
of like
lot too,
different
but
ones.
I
Well, I mean,
have
like they're
so many
it's
a
a
week.
sorry, it's a whole bunch of channels where they review a lot of food, not just yeah.
Yeah, no. This would be exclusively frozen burritos and my take on them, what they could do differently because you got a lot of things to consider. You got like the tortilla, how much tortilla versus content inside. You got your packaging. Is the packaging
Man,
too hard to get
I didn't
into?
think about that. You'd
And
review
like,
the
is it
packaging
likely
as
to
well as the
explode while you
burrito. Like it's
microwave
more
it,
than
or is
just
it
a food
strong
review.
enough? No,
Yeah.
and you want to know why? Because these new burritos that I really like, they're really good. Even if the bean, I have had a couple where the beans were slightly undercooked in them, but the package holds well. So when you microwave it, it blows up, but it
Dang it,
doesn't
Jake, you have me
explode.
interested in
But
your
the
channel
problem though is
already.
it's so strong, it can be a pain to get
I gotta
into.
know.
So I'm telling you, man, it's an
Oh
untapped
man,
market. It's an untapped market.
I had
It's
no
and
idea you ate that many
it's something
frozen
I am
burritos.
passionate about. So I have so many.
How
It's you put it in the microwave for 2
you
minutes
work?
30
You
seconds. You
work,
put two of them on a plate, and then you don't even have to cook.
but you work at
It's
a buffet.
beautiful.
I think
It's
you
the
can just take
perfect. It's
some
the
of the food
perfect
home with you.
single white guy food.
Okay, that's fair. Man, all right.
Well, I do, but like on my days off, I don't take food home, and
Yeah,
so
I
yeah,
don't know.
that's. I'm genuinely considering it now. To be
I've been
honest,
a that'd be
I'll
cool.
have to. I'll have to. Maybe I could ask
I've
you for
considered
help on
for a
maybe
while.
getting
I
my
had this idea
structure
a long
down or
time ago
something.
to do a channel just for single people. Like, well, okay, because a market that specifically serves like things that only single people would want to think about and do. So, like, do you understand kind of what I'm saying with this? Like, no, I was just thinking
You're not
products.
talking
It would
about
just be
just
like a
products,
product
like
review channel,
actual
but it would
events
be
and
like
stuff too, like things to
specifically a
go
product
to.
review from the standpoint of
Oh, okay,
someone who
okay.
doesn't give a crap about other people or how gross it might be or like anything like that. Just like how, yeah.
I could see that. That could go really well. Did you actually, speaking of similar to that, did you
Yes,
ever watch that
I haven't seen
channel
it
I
yet. I
sent
showed
you,
it to
the
Emily, and
girlfriend reviews?
it's in my list of like things to watch. Um, yeah,
Yeah, and that definitely sounds like something in the vein
yeah,
of that. And I think that's market with that new girlfriend reviews channel. I
yeah.
think it's kind
I can
of
see
a
that.
new
I don't
budding
know.
category
Anyways, okay,
that you
so
got to
the
get into
news.
if you're gonna do it.
It's news time. Woo. Um,
Yes,
you're gonna like.
not quite as fun. I think frozen burritos are
Okay,
much more
don't read
enjoyable
them
than
yet, but these last two articles
what
you're
is
gonna
this China
love.
app shows map of people in debt.
We're don't read
Oh,
it yet.
well,
We're getting to it. Let me just go through these first.
okay. So what are they?
Just hold on.
Oh, sure, well, too late. You're
Okay,
already gonna
so
have
the
to
first one that I want to
have
go
to
over just
edit that
very, very
out.
briefly is that China is expanding their social credit system even more. And it seems to be that they're using their social credit system that we've talked about earlier. By the way, just a brief review and everything. China has set up a system where they're using facial recognition and using people's social media accounts to either publicly shame them or to allow them better stays in hotels or what apartments they can rent or the prices on those apartments or whether or not they can travel in and out of the country. They're using all of this stuff as a very interesting kind of I don't it from a Western perspective, it's very, very scary. I don't know how Chinese people feel about this. I really need to ask some of my Chinese friends about this. But I don't know. It's just fascinating. Anyways, it seems like they're really leaning into the public shaming kind of part of it. So I just want to touch on it really briefly. According to Business Insider, China reportedly made an app to show people if they're standing near someone in debt. It's a new, yeah,
within a 500-meter radius. And just real quick, I want to point out, I don't know if they really pushed the translation to get it to sound like this, but they say it's called a map of deadbeat debtors. And I want to say deadbeat debtors is a phrase I really, really like. I don't know if that's
it actually does sound
good
pretty
translation,
good, but
but I don't care.
Anyways, it's just really fascinating. They're
phrase.
kind of pushing into this market. I guess it would only make sense for Chinese people because apparently the idea behind it is that they're to use public shame in order to get people to pay off their debts faster. Like it's a way to kind of enhance society that way. So there's actually a positive spin that you could put on that, which is that people around you, either negatively or positively, are encouraging you to get out of debt quicker. I think that's the idea behind it. But at the same time, like, my goodness, like that's a very, I don't know, from a Western like privacy perspective, that's really, really. Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah,
But
from our
anyways, yeah.
perspective,
So it's interesting.
like,
It's actually
this is
being implemented
absolutely
into
absurd.
WeChat. I didn't know the Chinese government had that much say so over WeChat, but apparently they do. Yeah,
I mean,
that's just.
well, it is a Chinese app. It says.
Oh,
So.
there we go.
Oh yeah, well yeah.
Yeah, I'm
according to Google
fascinated
right here,
because
it's
that means
developed by
that these
Tencent.
people would have
So,
to. I'm
Chinese.
assuming they wouldn't like, by themselves put their credit score into the app. Like the app must be able to just search those documents. They must be like public record or at least government, knowledge. I don't know. This is just interesting.
No, it's
Yeah,
definitely not going to be
it's
public.
very,
I
very
think it
fascinating. So
probably
yeah, so the
taps into
social
some
credit system's
private
getting
government
bigger and bigger in
API.
China, and I'm curious to see when we'll start seeing it come over because I'm sure it is. There was one thing that, oh man, I really hated it. The whole hyper progressive movement, and I don't want to get too much in the weeds on it because there's way too much to say on that whole thing, but they man, there was a really bad news story that came out a while ago about how they were trying to shame Bank of America. I think it was Bank of America. It was either like Bank of America or Citibank into giving credit to people they deemed unworthy of giving credit to. So they were trying to force the banks to police people's activity and to check their social media as to whether or not they'd give them a credit card. Um, there's just some weird stuff happening in the I mean, it's happening all over, but I'm just fascinated that young people, because that tends to be who's in these like really hyper progressive movements, why they would think it's a good idea to have banks policing, our activity and stuff.
Yeah, that is kind of weird, especially considering, as far as I could understand, the general consensus is that big businesses, corporations,
Yeah.
and stuff such like that aren't looked at viewed as favorably anymore. Because you get Facebook and its privacy concerns, you get banks and their shady practices they do and how they get away with so much. Maybe a
Why
slap
would
on the
you give
wrist
them
and
more power?
and
Like,
a
why?
fine that's not that
Why
big
would?
compared to
I don't know.
what
It's
the
interesting
cap
the way
on
they were
the
phrasing it, though. So what they were pointing to as the reason.
Yeah.
I wish I had the article in front of me. I feel really bad saying all this without it, but this has already gone on too long, so I don't want to spend much time. But they were phrasing it and saying, listen, all of these people, the guy who did the Sandy Hook massacre, the one who shot up Las Vegas, all of these different massacres, they all got all of that stuff with credit cards. And the reason they were able to do that is because the bank loaned them those credit cards in the first place. So does that mean that the banks are responsible for funding terrorism? It was this really weird logic that you kind of have to do some backflips to kind of get to. It's very, very strange. But anyways, so I'm saying that we're seeing some similarities already coming over to the U.S., but that's just strange. Okay, second one. I promise the next two are really, really fun. I'm excited to talk about them. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about how we planted cotton on the moon, or the Chinese did at least, and then it died immediately. But
Okay, I don't know what article you were.
It was 6
I haven't read
days.
this article yet, but from what I heard, what they said is that they ended up
dang it, is that why?
shutting it down. They ended up turning it off, which is why it died. Or maybe I'm getting the order of events backwards, but from what I remember reading, they turned it off, and so it died.
I haven't seen anything about them turning it off, but I'll believe you on it. I'm fully willing to believe you.
Because
On it.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. I guess that's
Yeah, no,
fair.
I
I know
remember
that
seeing
apparently a while
like a
ago they had some
statement from one
algae
of the
growing there for like
scientists or
500
something.
days or something. But I just thought this one was really cool. It was just fascinating that they'd brought it up there and they didn't do what I thought they'd do, which is like actually like putting a container over lunar soil and planting it in the lunar soil. No, like they shot up a self-contained ecosystem that had these plants as well as I think some kind of bug. I think it was some fruit flies that they brought up there as well, and it was just supposed to survive while being on the moon, which seems almost like I don't know, maybe a way to test biospheres, like the viability of biospheres themselves. But I don't know. Anyways, after like 6 days, it froze because it got to what is it, -62 degrees Fahrenheit. It's very very cold. It just froze solid. The poor little guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Where I read it originally is
Oh.
CNN, greatest of all news sites ever. But they say that the scientists ended the experiment when they shut down the power
All right.
remotely. So that's where I remember reading it. But I guess sort of it wasn't it was gonna die anyway because apparently they had two heating elements in there, and they just like
Oh,
either
okay.
weren't
That
enough
makes
or
sense.
like it wasn't
Oh well.
calibrated well
All
enough,
right.
and so it was way too cold
Okay. Oh, I gotcha.
or too hot
Okay,
or something.
those are the
so.
boring
Oh yeah,
articles.
it was
Now
it had
the
gotten
interesting
too hot,
ones. Okay.
apparently.
Um. Right. Oh. Oh, it gets better. It gets better.
Yeah, this is
So
definitely
they're
it's interesting.
so Gearbox, the creators of both Borderlands and Aliens: Colonial Marines, mostly Borderlands is what they're known for, obviously. They've been coming over some tough times. Well, not tough times. There's been some shenanigans happening with the higher ups in the company, mainly the CEO, and I'm trying to remember who this other guy is. He's part of their law team, and I don't know exactly how former general counsel. I keep forgetting his name's Wade Callender. So it's their CEO Randy Pitchford against Wade Callender, and I'm trying to remember. He's part of their law team. Law team. That's really all I know about him. Um, Basically, what happened was the CEO, Randy Pitchford, he began making allegations and filed a lawsuit. I'm sorry, against Wade Callender for misappropriating funds, for fraud, for a whole bunch of stuff. Basically, just generally stealing money from the company. According to the Ars Technica um, article about it, Callender's suit alleges that Pitchford breached his fiduciary duties by exploiting Gearbox employees and property to fund Pitchford's private cravings. Apparently, this had something like I was reading something else about it. It had something to do with like a workout plan for 6-pack abs that was like really expensive. Just like these ridiculous things. So he fires off on this, and this whole lawsuit starts getting blown up and stuff, and it's just kind of a bad break between these guys who were apparently friends beforehand and everything. What's interesting is the countersuit, because Wade Callender, this guy fires back at the CEO Randy Pitchford, talking about how he accidentally left a USB drive at a medieval times when they'd gone to a medieval times with a selection of underage pornography as well as company secrets on the thumb drive. Yeah, you can't have one without the other. You gotta keep those
The
both
two
together.
things you usually
So
keep together.
I don't know, and it gets a little bit stranger from there. So he talks about that first. He alleges that this happened in 2014, and he's countersuing because of this. I don't really see how he goes forward with this countersuit, but I think he's just trying to shame him in front of the company. Obviously, they started looking into this, and he immediately began defending himself. His defense is the first fun part. Have you seen his defense part? Oh man. Okay, let me go down a little bit. Okay. Um, I
I
might
haven't
just
no.
read this thing in full. Okay, so what this was, it was a single video that was on the thumb drive. That's what they're alleging was on there, and the single video was of a cam girl. And assuming the cam girl is 18 because she is a cam girl, he's like, she's 18 years old. She must be because she's on the site where you have to be 18 and up. You can't be below that. Otherwise, it's on the cam site's fault, not on this side and everything. But it wasn't for pornographic reasons. I'll just, he said he likes magic tricks. He said, I don't really know how to. Oh, I'm just going to read this. I don't know how to do this. Okay, so according to Ars Technica, he confirmed that he copied a specific video, quote, to this memory stick, unquote, as he describes it, quote, to work out the method of how a cam girl faked the act of female ejaculation. Um, quote, I realize this is not a sex worker, Pitchford said on the subject. This is an effing magician. Yeah.
Okay, that makes much
I
more
don't know.
sense. That quote.
The accusations for Wade Campbell go on a little bit, saying that Pitchford has opened up his house in the past to a whole bunch of party guests, where they came over to his private room in the house, where they were taking turns exposing themselves on camera to underage children and then laughing about it. He's throwing out a lot of these accusations. There's really no way to tell whether or not they're true. And normally I would think like, yeah, this guy's just really mad and he's trying to throw this guy under the bus whatever way he can. But the fact that the CEO is going through these weird, I don't know. I mean, saying, I don't know, Jake. I don't know how to talk about this. Why would you say that? Like, why is it so? Okay, you're in a court case, all right? They're accusing you of child pornography. And all of a sudden it comes out, oh, she's probably not a child. This probably isn't child pornography. This is a cam girl. If she's a cam girl, which apparently she is, it has to be on a an 18 or up like server. They check for that kind of thing, and if not, that's on them. Like, I understand that. Yeah, why are you going through all these backflips saying she's a?
That'd be on the company.
This is a long explanation to say that it's not porn that you're looking at, I don't know. Hold on, is there anything else about this? Oh,
yeah, it's just such a
yeah.
It's hard to skim this at the same time of talking to you, but it's just such a weird like situation. Because then they're also claiming he uses the corporate credit cards for personal use before resigning. And then he
there's a lot of this nitty gritty. I really just wanted to skip over to talk about this, just because I know we're a little bit short on time right now, and that was the meat of where this thing goes weird. Yeah, that's the part where like, all right, this just got real interesting.
This is the highlight.
Fast. Apparently, this girl's handle on this campsite was only 18. Let me see. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I agree with that, because it's a pretty time sensitive.
The USB drive was returned to Gearbox, Pitchford says, in exchange for swag and video games from one of the Medieval Times workers.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, so they're just suing each other like crazy.
That's one way to do it, I guess.
$1 million in damages, alleges that blah 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 blah. It's just going through the nitty gritty of the entire thing now. So and then there was the whole thing goes on. It goes into a podcast part. I read this a while ago. I don't want to read this thing in full because it's an Ars Technica thing. Let's see. It begins with, still later on Friday, Gearbox PR forwarded a lengthy statement to Ars Technica regarding the December lawsuit filed against Gearbox and Pitchford. It begins with Gearbox pledged to file a grievance with the State Bar of Texas against our former General Counsel of Disciplinary Proceedings. Statement questions Calendar's use of hedged lawyer language and clever applications of quotation marks. That's weird. Now, there was something really interesting in here that I don't want to skip over. Man, I wish I was better prepared for this. Clearly using deceit and lies to cause damages by promoting a narrative he knows is false. Oh, so it sounds like there's a lot of people against this guy. The statement also here we go. This might be it. The statement also describes something called the Peacock Theater as if it were an existing publicly accessible arts venue. When it was in fact a private-only event hosted by Pitchford's massive house in a gated community. Gearbox claims that every performance at the Peacock Theater is recorded and invites members of the press to watch. Right, this Peacock Theater is where they're talking about. He's pointing to this as evidence of the of men exposing themselves to little kids and laughing about it. It's apparently called the Peacock Theater. That's where this whole thing comes from. Watch any or all of these videos in private for further validation. So apparently they took videos of all of this stuff and it exists somewhere, but there's no way to actually check that because who on earth would give up that? So I don't know, man. It got weird. I mean, I don't know. Like, I hope that Borderlands 3 comes out sometime. Like, that's all I have to say on it. Yeah, I mean, geez, like.
I mean, it will. It's just a CEO.
Yeah,
I mean,
seriously. Like, I hope
I
all
mean,
of their
for a
work
game like
still
Borderlands,
comes
there's
to
still people
fruition
who
and
want
everything.
just
But
to
my
see the
gosh,
game.
like, what on earth? Okay. All right, we've got one more. I think you're gonna really like this article. One more. All
One
right.
more.
Well, that's because
Oh,
there
I
is
don't. I
articles
see a
on this,
link,
but I think
so
it's
I
more
just
fun if I
see
just
click
tell
to
you what
pray.
this is.
Well, I'm gonna assume it's like F
No.
for
I'm gonna
press F for to pay respects,
Nope. So this is a
or
new
one like
app
equals one prayer.
that was built and published by the Vatican. The Pope. So the Pope has decided that in order to reach
Okay.
young people and to spread more awareness for prayer throughout the world, there needed to be an app for the Catholic Church for everyone to pray together. So it's an app called Click to Pray. I have downloaded this app and I am looking at it right now. And Jake, it is wonderful. I love this app. This is so good. so, so what this
All
is,
right.
there's a
All
couple
right. All
different
right.
parts. It's like calendar
Click
events, how to
to
talk to the Pope and
pray.
stuff. It's a couple different things like that. The meat of it though is that what people do is they can write what they're praying for and then post it on this big public just feed. It's just like this giant feed. And then there's a button under it that says click to pray. And you click the button. Oh, it's so good. You can click the button under their prayer and it just says thank you for praying. And then you just move on with their day and they get a little like hands held together in a prayer like way, like these many people have prayed. Yeah, it's a little praying emoji right next to there. It's so good.
Oh,
Dude, I've been
emoji.
praying
Oh
all day,
no.
Jake. I have never prayed so much. It's so good. Most of these things are different languages. Hold on. I pray for the
I'm
safe
glad
people
you
in the
found
world.
God.
May God bring happiness and food to all of us. There was one woman who posted like several times about praying for Donald Trump's wall. And she was asking for a whole bunch of prayers on that and everything. It's so good.
How legitimate? How
Jake,
do
let
you
me tell
verify
you,
all that though?
you
Because I feel like
can
there's gonna be
report
so
people's
many
prayers.
people that are just.
Have you ever wanted to do that before? Because now you have the ability to. There is a report prayer button
Oh my
in the top right
gosh.
corner of all of these different prayers. Holy Spirit, guide Venezuela tomorrow. Forever Venezuelan is afraid so that they can feel God to defend them. Oh, that's a pretty good prayer, actually. Oh, man, keep pressing it, man. Pray as much as
Click
you
to
can.
pray.
Keep going down.
Oh my goodness! I
Don't,
just
don't stop praying.
prayed.
Just
Click to.
click
Wait.
the
How
one
do
with
I
all the
find more?
people.
How do I find more? Oh, that's pray with the Pope. Okay, prayer.
Yeah.
Prayer every day. Prayer with the network.
Oh.
With the network. Yeah. Load. Oh yes. Amor. Yes.
It
something
doesn't
in
matter.
Spanish. Pray.
Oh,
more
no, you can
French or
filter by
something.
language.
Oh, these are all different languages.
Yeah.
There we go.
What? I filtered by English.
Oh
It's
yeah,
still
all
in,
the
like,
languages. I like it. All the
Esperanto or
languages.
something. I don't know. Prayers for the families be united, holy family. Praying for my son who's been sober for over a year. Oh, that's great. I'm glad I prayed for that one. It's just so good. Yep. Oh, don't forget, you can post a prayer in the top.
Prayers for my
Don't
son.
try
Oh
to,
yeah,
though, because
I see that one
I'll
too.
report it. And you can post a picture with your prayer, which I think is fascinating. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, this just came out of the Vatican. I
Ooh,
love
man.
it. So
My eye is healing well.
this is my new favorite app. Oh man, feel prayerful. That's feel penitent.
I don't even
and,
know how to feel about this.
I don't know. Whatever you need to feel to just keep praying. Just got to keep praying, man.
Something.
All right. I think. Well,
Oh man.
okay. Before we end.
So,
All right.
quick little segue, real quick. So there's an app. There's something called the Doomsday Clock, which I know. I think you were the one who told me about it, maybe.
I don't know, man. I'm still clicking to pray.
Because I know
Keep
it was
going.
in what's that? The Watchmen comics. And there's actually. Well, there's an app you could use. So basically, it's something that I don't know if there's a committee or something, but it's been going on for decades now, and it just tells you how close it is to midnight, and the closer it is to midnight, the more likely
that's a real
there
thing.
is for nuclear war, and it gets updated every year, and I just realized it's the beginning of the new year, so I guess
Yeah.
it looks like
Can
according to
I
this,
blow your mind a little bit?
January 24th is
Are
when
you
it
ready
gets
for
updated
your
again.
mind to be blown a little bit?
So I'm
So you know
excited.
this is all right. This
I'm
is part of the
excited.
Watchmen comic, right? This whole minutes to midnight thing.
Oh boy.
Have you ever
What's
heard
this?
that term before? Minutes to midnight. Think real hard. Where have you heard that before? No, it's
I
the
feel like I
Linkin
have,
Park
yeah.
album, Minutes to Midnight. It's been in your life
Probably
the
in a
whole
song.
time. Oh yeah.
Oh my
They knew it the whole
god.
time.
No way. I can't even take this.
Oh yeah, yeah. Apparently this has
Oh
been a
my
thing for a
God.
long time. I only learned
Is
about
it
it
the
because of that
Illuminati?
comic. But yeah, it's just a metaphor that I think it was more relevant in the 1960s, especially with the. Wow, that's a long time ago. Yeah,
Or,
but
1947, which is apparently when it first started. Yeah, so they only update it like every few years.
I'm
except for
really fascinated. I wanna
the
check
past
into
it's been every year since 2015.
because there must be a lot of different metrics you can use to measure that thing. I don't know how accurate it is because it can't just be like, how the public is generally feeling about nuclear weapons. Like,
Well, here's the thing though. You can go to the website or wherever this is and view the full statements. These are like
Wow.
18-page documents giving all the reasons why they changed it and why they think it's this close to midnight.
thebulletin.org. I think that's where it
And they
is,
give a summary. Oh, and
thebulletin.org.
then they also give a summary of all the older
Yeah.
years too.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking
I
at.
got to go give this a read later to see how they do it. Yeah, if anyone's curious, we are, I believe, 2 minutes away now. 2 minutes from midnight.
Yeah, at last. So, but in 2 days, January 24th, we're gonna find out how close we are to midnight. I mean, honestly, this is the only way anyone should get their news.
All right. Well,
Is through the doomsday clock. I will. Hang on. I'm going to. I'm gonna send a prayer,
oh my God, that's an amazing
and I
idea.
hope
I
that
hate
we
to
get
do that.
further away from
1 sec.
midnight, and I hope others will pray with me.
Hold on. Oh, we're both gonna do it. Hold on. Minutes to midnight.
Not if I get to it first, man. That was my idea.
Please. You gotta tap it at the top of the screen.
I don't even know how.
And you know what? Let's
send
do
a
this
prayer.
after we end the podcast. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll yeah. Talk to you soon. Tap our
Yeah.
prayers. Click to pray.
Hell breezy. Let me show you how to keep the dice rolling when you're doing that thing over there. Hey. Let's go! Cause I'm feeling like I'm running and I'm feeling like I gotta get away. Better know that I don't and I won't ever stop. Cause you know I gotta win every day. See, you really wanna pop me. Just know that you will never flop me. And I know that I gotta be a little cocky. You ain't never gonna stop me. Every time I come, a nigga gotta set it, then I gotta go, and then I gotta get it, then I gotta blow, and then I gotta shut it. Any little thing a nigga think that he be doing, cause it doesn't matter, cause I'm gonna dead it. Then I'm gonna murder everything and anything about it. Boom, about a thing. I gotta do a lot of things to make it clearer to a couple niggas that I always win, and then I gotta get it again and again and again. And I be doing it to death, and now I move a little foul. Nigga better call a rap, and everybody know my style. Niggas know that I'm the best when it come to doing this, and I be banging on my chest, and I bang in the east, and I banging in the west, and I come to give you more, and I will never give you less. You will hear it in the street, and you can read it in the press. Do you really wanna know what's next? Let's go. See the way we on it, and we all up in the race, and you know we gotta go now try to keep up with the pace, and we struggling and hustling and set it, and get it, and we